Well, hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. It's Sunday, and that means that we are doing effed up news of the week at 5 o'clock on Sundays, every Sunday, unless I have another obligation in which I tell you guys in advance. But this is effed up news for January 30th, 2022, and we've got a eclectic little mix of news, including the breaking news that I have been nominated by the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire to run for governor. I'll tell you guys all about how this happened. Life, man. Listen, you know what? I'm going to tell you what. You never know what's going to happen in life. Sometimes you can go within a span of 2 years from being a Democrat of 20 years who's not paying attention to politics at all in any way. And in just a few short years, you go on a journey through walking away from the Democratic Party to, becoming involved in the Republican Party for about 15 minutes, to leaving the Republican Party in disgust, to joining the Libertarian Party, to becoming the Libertarian nominee for governor of New Hampshire. You just can't, you just have to let life take you where it takes you sometimes. You just have to let it go. Just so you guys know, Victor is very excited about the prospect of being a first gentleman of New Hampshire. And so we're going to talk about that in a bit. But guys, just so you know, just so you're aware, one of the things you want to do before we get started this week, or you could even do it while we're on the stream this week, is the very best way that you can support the work I'm doing. There are a couple things. Number one, I want you to head over to activelyunwoke.com and I want you to pre-order the book that I have coming out in April. I'm not going to be doing fundraising for governor of New Hampshire for reasons that we'll talk about, but if you really want to spend money on me, the very best thing you can do is pre-order this book. I worked really hard on this book. It is filled with case studies about how to fight back against woke nonsense in your life. It is filled with actionable things that you can do. It is your decoder ring for everything going on that is crazy in our country today. I promise you that if you read this book or you give a copy to a friend, they're going to have a much better understanding of the situation in which we find ourselves in. Now, the other thing I want you to do is in a couple days, a few short days, I will be giving a free webinar on Actively Unwoke. It's actually going to be on a private platform. So it's not going to be on Zoom or anything. It is a private webinar platform where you can come and learn about critical race theory from a very kind of introductory level. This is not going to be the advanced stuff. This is even more basic than what we do on happy hours every single week. But what I want to do is provide everyone with a good baseline understanding of what critical race theory really is. Not what the left says it is, but what it actually is based on the thousands of hours of critical race theory content that I have watched over the past couple of years. And so that's what we're going to be doing on Tuesday at noon. So if you want to register, it is free to register, but space is limited. So sign up, get access to the webinar. I will be recording it. I don't know exactly. See, my issue with the recording is I want to make sure that I'm not doxing any of the participants when I put the recording up. So I want to put the recording up afterwards in a way where I can still keep participants' name kind of private, because what I want people to do in this webinar is to be able to come and to ask questions about what's going on, and I will answer them to the very best of my ability. We've also got a couple of other great live events. You can check out the live events page on activelyunwoke.com to sign up for those. And of course, if you really want to support the work I'm doing, the very best thing you can do is join my Locals community. Locals is the best place on the internet. But some of my Locals members are here today in the chat. You can ask them about it, but you can always join my Locals for free by going to kb.locals.com. Free access just lets you lurk in the community. It lets you kind of see what's going on. But if you really want to unlock all the features of the community and support the work I'm trying to do and help me as I'm, embarking on apparently running for governor of New Hampshire, but I'm not actually running for governor of New Hampshire, but I'm kind of running for governor of New Hampshire. Listen, man, Locals is the thing that allows me to dedicate time to doing these things. So I'm very grateful for the members of my Locals. You can sign up at $5 a month. You can sign up at $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can also make a one-time gift. And I do like one-time gifts to come through Locals even though I do have PayPal and crypto, it's all in the description if you want to give those ways, and I do appreciate those as well. But I do like one-time gifts to come through locals because that means you get to open up all the features of locals for the duration of the gift, which I think is a win-win. All right, guys, let's jump into it now. The first story is well, me. It's all fun and games until you accidentally become governor of New Hampshire. I I have to say, okay, so yesterday was the convention, the annual convention for the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. I've never been to one of these things before. I had no idea what to expect. And, we had a really great day. It was an amazing turnout, one of the biggest turnouts they've had in a while. Mises Caucus swept everything, swept the EC. I also actually became a delegate, which I'll talk about in a second. But I mean, the big news is essentially for me, there's a couple big things that happened at the convention that impact all of us. I received the nomination for the Libertarian Party candidate for governor. I have the official party endorsement. Now, this is something that we had talked about. And I had posted a video thinking that like maybe would run for governor as kind of like a goof. But this is something that we talked about like as a way to quite frankly make sure that we had a candidate for governor that we as the people kind of like in control of the party would get behind. But really, I mean, what you guys need to hear, and I am serious about this, is most of our resources are actually going to go to Jeremy Kauffman for Senate because my friend, founder of Library and Odyssey, Jeremy Kauffman, got the nomination for Senate yesterday at the convention. And this is actually the race that I want people to donate to. This is the race that I'm going to be working to support. We're all going to be working to support Jeremy. Jeremy is listen, he's a little bit of a controversial figure on the internet. If you see his tweets, he has some spicy tweets, but Jeremy is one of the most principled people that I've met in a while. He is highly intelligent. He has built two successful businesses. He's an all around good guy. He understands the culture of New Hampshire. He is exactly the right person to run for Senate in New Hampshire representing the Libertarian Party. And so, even though I did get nominated for governor, I'm not actually going to put a lot of energy into that idea, mostly because I don't really want to be governor, but but also because my focus and my priority is making sure that Jeremy gets as much support as he can in his Senate run in New Hampshire. I actually think this is a much more important race. This is a much more pivotal race, and we're going to do extremely bold messaging around Jeremy's candidacy. So I'm really looking forward to that. Head over to jeremy4nh.com. Please make a gift of support. We're already fundraising, guys. Fundraising for Jeremy is off and running. We've already got a lot of commitments coming in. Jeremy's getting on the phone. There's some big people sending in some big gifts. So we're going to be able to have some stuff to play with. And this is what I am really, really excited about. But I just want to take a second and acknowledge that, I did get the nomination for governor and I was not expecting it. I was actually extremely surprised by this because it is something that we had talked about doing, but I thought that we had kind of put the idea to the side and we weren't actually going to have a candidate for governor. We were just going to focus on Jeremy's Senate race because we have a limited amount of resources. It's not as though we wouldn't love to run candidates for everything, but we do have a limited amount of resources and we have a limited amount of people and it's all volunteer and it's all in our free time and all of us are really busy people anyway and we all have other things that we're doing. So it was my understanding that we were just going to put our resources behind Jeremy's Senate race, and the whole idea of me getting nominated for governor was kind of like just we were being silly and we were talking about it. And then someone actually nominated for me for governor. Thanks, Ian. And so I accepted because I thought it would be ungracious not to accept. And I was actually really genuinely flattered by the whole thing. I thought it was actually pretty great. I was not expecting it. I also did actually become a delegate to the Libertarian National Convention in Reno. There are 13 of us that became delegates for the national conference. And honestly, I was actually really, really kind of surprised by that as well because The Mises Caucus organizers basically put together the slate. They coordinated the whole thing. They put together the slate of candidates that they wanted, that were either part of the Mises Caucus or very friendly to the Mises Caucus. And so they put the whole slate together. And they had actually talked to me a couple months ago. And there are delegates, and then there are alternate delegates if the delegates can't make it. Now, New Hampshire has a lot of committed libertarians, so there were a lot of people that wanted those delegate spots. And I'm not going to say I didn't want one. I absolutely did. But what I always said was that if there were people that were involved in the party that were there before me, I wanted them to have the slot over me just because there were a lot of people that were expressing interest in those slots. And so there were absolutely people in the LPNH that I would have been perfectly fine them having a delegate slot, because I was going to go to the convention anyway. And I said to the organizers, I was like, I don't really care if I'm a delegate or an alternate. And my understanding was the plan was that like I was going to be an alternate. That was the last that I heard. And then the list came out yesterday morning and I was on the delegate list. And I got to admit, I was really flattered. It felt really good. And so I do want to thank the people in the LPNH. I mean, I truly, truly feel as though I have found my people in this party. I genuinely love and appreciate them. So many committed people that fight the hard fight. You know, it's not easy being a libertarian in this world. It's a little bit easier in New Hampshire than it is in other places, that's for sure. But I was really genuinely flattered and I appreciated it. And even though I'm going to have some fun with this, like this morning I tweeted out, and this is actually something serious, man. If I did actually become governor of New Hampshire, my day one executive order would be that I would sign an executive order mandating every government funded school put a camera in every classroom to broadcast what teachers are teaching students to the parents of those students. And we know they already have all the equipment because they were all doing virtual learning for the entirety of 2020. So don't mess around with money. We know you guys have cameras. We know you guys know how to do this. So this is my day one executive order if I do become governor of New Hampshire, that I will sign an EO mandating a camera in every public school classroom or government funded school classroom. And if they don't put the cameras in the classrooms within like a 6-month period, they don't get any more funding. That's my only policy position that exists. Besides, of course, my official policy position, which is vote for Jeremy Kauffman for Senate. But guys, if you do live in New Hampshire, I will say this. We are going to need to collect signatures. So the reason this is actually becoming like a real thing with me running for governor is we can collect signatures. We have to collect about 3,000 signatures across New Hampshire to get both Jeremy and now me on the ballot, because we can collect signatures for both at the same time. So if you live in New Hampshire, if you can come and help us collect signatures, let me know. Reach out to the LPNH. We are trying to coordinate some volunteers to be able to do this. I actually think we're going to be able to do this pretty quickly with how excited so many people are about Jeremy's Senate run. And then I'm like a tagger on. Justin and Ian figured out some way to collect signatures for both Jeremy and me at the same time, like a multi-candidate sort of signature. And so I'm like a tagger on, but we really do need help in collecting signatures for Jeremy's Senate run. And again, you guys are going to be hearing a lot more from Jeremy over the next several months. I hope to have him on the channel several times. We can do some AMAs. He's really, honestly, one of the most intelligent dudes I've spoken to in a while. He has spent years and years thinking through some of these positions. Does he say them in a little bit of a spicy way to make a point? Yeah, he does. But he never, ever, 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 ever comes from an unprincipled place. And that's what I really respect about Jeremy Kauffman. He never, ever, ever comes from an unprincipled place. When he says something, it's because it's something he's thought about. He's thought about how it relates back to libertarian values. It's not something usually that he's doing off the cuff. Oh, we have Ian in the chat. Ian tricked me into running for governor. Ian, I appreciate the nomination. I do feel as though you have tricked me. but that's okay. I'm gonna roll with it because we have to roll with it. We have to roll with it, and I think we're gonna have a really good time. Emphasize, thank you for the super chat. University of Kansas required academia. Angry white male studies needs to be angry white women studies. Oh, really? Oh, that's fun. We get mad at what women tell us to do. Emphasize, I'm gonna have to look into that. Thank you for the super chat. And Claudia, thank you for becoming a member on the channel. I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate the support. Savrit says, "Hi, Carlin. I'm glad to catch you live. Keep up the good work. By the way, my notifications are screwed up with your channel. Dude, YouTube ain't sending out any notifications for my channel. I can always tell. I can always tell when YouTube is not sending out notifications for my channel. They have been screwing with my channel epically lately. But you know what? We're carrying on. We're just going to keep going. We're going to keep grinding every single day. Guys, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, or if you think you're subscribed, just double check real quick. YouTube may have made that decision for you. And of course, please make sure you mount that like button. Ian is telling us that we need 15. Oh, wait, hang on. We need 1,500 signatures from each congressional district. I think we're going to knock this out. I really do. I like this is something I'm not worried about. And he also thinks I can beat Daryl Perry's results. Jackie Perry, guys, you guys all remember Jackie Perry. Jackie Perry is the woman in New Hampshire who tried to put a hex on the Mises Caucus. I did a video about it a while ago. Jackie is not happy about this. I got to be honest, like again, this is not this is one of those things for me that, running for governor is a serious thing and I don't want to dismiss it. But the most fun thing so far for me in this whole thing is just seeing the epic amount of whining and complaining that has happened from people who don't like me over the fact that I got this nomination. Like people are crying so hard. It's amazing. And every time they cry, I simply thank them for their endorsement for governor. All right. Well, but I mean, can you really blame me? One of the things that I'm really going to appreciate about running for governor, Mandatory Carry says, keep fighting, just keep fighting. That's it. Thank you, Mandatory Carry. One of the things that I'm really going to appreciate about running for governor of New Hampshire is I am every single day, as a matter of business, really, every single day, I'm going to be able to say, suck my dick, Chris Sununu. Chris Sununu just continues to show that he is an epic rhino that cannot be trusted. He is going to be the Republican nominee for governor of New Hampshire. We don't even know who the Democrats' nominee is going to be yet. So right now, it is effectively me versus Chris Sununu. Now, when we last left off on my feud with Chris Sununu, you'll remember that he was the person that sabotaged the anti-CRT bill in New Hampshire. He was the person that sabotaged it. The anti-CRT bill should have been a no-brainer. The Republicans control the state House of Representatives in New Hampshire. The Republicans control the state Senate in New Hampshire. The Republicans control the governor's office in New Hampshire. The anti-CRT bill that was introduced about a year ago should have been a no-brainer in New Hampshire until Chris Sununu came out and said he would veto it. Chris Sununu came out and said he would veto the anti-CRT bill, siding with the Democrats, and then sent his cronies, John Formello and Jeb Bradley, to destroy the anti-CRT bill, which now the Republicans are going back and fixing. They are. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. That is my good news for the week. Now the Republicans, because of Chris Sununu's shenanigans, have to go back and fix the thing that Chris Sununu broke in the first place. But that's not the only rhino-y thing that Chris Sununu has done. He's like a constant rhino. Dude, Dan freaking Crenshaw was in New Hampshire fundraising for Chris Sununu not that long ago. You know what I think of Dan Crenshaw. I am unimpressed. Naruto says, second act as governor, fix the... It's not even going to be my act as governor because they're already doing it. The Liberty Republicans are on it. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. GOP governor pushes back on Trump's suggestions of pardons for January 6 rioters. If elected, Chris. if elected. JAEUFM says Dr. B is governor of New Hampshire. Oh, yeah, that is something I would like to see, even if I live in, what is that? Is that Missouri or Montana? I don't know which one it is. Well, we'll do our best to make me the governor of New Hampshire. Because God knows Chris Sununu is nothing but a rhino. New Hampshire Governor Sununu said on Sunday that he disagreed with former President Trump's idea of potentially pardoning people charged in connection with storming the Capitol on January 6th. Of course not. You can't you hear Chris Sununu clutching his pearls? Can't you hear Chris Sununu like clutching his pearls? No, of course we would never pardon them. Oh my goodness, no. Chris Sununu said on CNN's State of the Union when asked if the rioters who were part of the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol should be pardoned. Look, the folks that were part of the riots and frankly the assault on the U.S. Capitol have to be held accountable, the governor added. There's a rule of law. I don't care whether you were part of the burning cities in Antifa in 2020 or storming the Capitol in 2021. Everyone needs to be held fairly accountable across. That's part of leadership. Well, Chris, it's not part of leadership when we had to spend the entirety of 2020 watching politician after politician after politician excuse and even raise bail money for people who caused $2 billion in flipping property damage. His remarks come after Trump suggested at a rally in Texas on Saturday that he would consider pardoning those charged in connection with the January 6th attack. Susan Collins also came out and said that she was unlikely to vote for Trump. But I'm just saying, man, if you want a rhino governor of New Hampshire, Chris Sununu is a great choice. If you want someone that's going to put a camera on day one in every public school classroom to monitor what those teachers are teaching your kids funded with our taxpayer dollars, then you're going to want to vote for me. I'm just saying. Now, here's what's going on. There's some libertarians that are totally freaking out about me getting nominated for governor, and they're saying Carlin is a Republican infiltrator. Dude, I was a Republican for about 15 minutes, and it was as a joke. It was a troll. You guys got to get a grip, man. You can literally look up on the Secretary of State website and find that I'm unaffiliated in New Hampshire because you can't register officially as a libertarian in New Hampshire. You have to be unaffiliated. I am a member of the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire and I am unaffiliated, motherfucker. You can look it up on the website. Well, this is the big question. Like, what if I win? I mean, that would be kind of amazing, wouldn't it be? Wouldn't it be amazing if I basically treated this whole thing like a joke, didn't fundraise at all, and still ended up kicking Chris Sununu's ass for governor? Listen, if I actually became governor of New Hampshire, I'll tell you what, man, I would try my best. I would do my best. I would show up. If the people of New Hampshire elected me as governor, I would show up. I would do my best. I would put together a great team of libertarian-minded people. The state of New Hampshire would be more free after I left than which I arrived. And I think it would be kind of incredible. Matthew says, so many titles, Doctor, Governor, and Queen. Well, you know what the fun thing is? We were talking about this last night. If I become governor and then New Hampshire secedes. So if I become governor, Victor, of course, will get to be first gentleman of New Hampshire. And then if New Hampshire secedes under my reign, I'm going to say I'm ascending to Queen. I mean, they would probably, probably more reasonably, it would be president of New Hampshire. But I'm going to say that if New Hampshire secedes under my administration, then I would ascend to Queen of New Hampshire, and Victor would be Prince Consort. He can't be King Consort because I still got to be like this ranking thing, man. But Victor would be Prince Consort of New Hampshire, which I think would be pretty great. I think that would be pretty great. Ian says if Carlin or Jeremy gets 4%, then voters can register as libertarian and candidates can qualify for a ballot with a mere filing fee instead of getting signatures. And this is really the goal. Well, there are several goals. But one of the primary goals I have, especially again in supporting Jeremy's campaign for Senate, is I want ballot access. We currently do not have ballot access in New Hampshire. I believe very easily that Jeremy Kauffman can get us 4% for ballot access. Maybe I can even hit that too without trying very hard. I mean, who knows? We're gonna give it a try, but that is really gonna be that would be amazing if we got that. Smooney says more than 90% of the adult population of New South Wales, Australia is double dosed. Almost 40% has had a booster, and yet we are still being forced to wear masks in the middle of a stinking hot summer. Listen, man, I feel for you. I'm really, really, really sorry about what's going on in your country. I am really sorry. It sucks. Savrit says, if you did win with your intimate knowledge of what's going on with America's doctrination, I believe you could get more than most politicians. I mean, listen, man, I'm not going to. Oh, that's right. Alou was endorsed as president of New Hampshire. Yes, Alou, who's been on the channel several times, has already been endorsed as the first president of New Hampshire. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. I'm not going to be a write-in. I'm going to be on the ballot. I'm going to be on the ballot. I'm going to get to vote for myself for governor of New Hampshire against Chris Rhino Sununu. It's going to be great. But no, I mean, listen, I'm still going to just talk about the issues that I care about, guys. I'm going to talk about the indoctrination. I'm going to talk about the schools. I'm going to talk about the anti-woke stuff. I'm going to do my very best to provide every bit of support that I can to Jeremy's Senate campaign. That is the plan. But again, I am greatly flattered and appreciative that the libertarians have endorsed me for governor of New Hampshire. But moving on. Speaking of governors, now I have to say, and you guys know this, I have to say that I've been a little bit hard on Glenn Youngkin in Virginia. I do not believe that his executive order banning CRT actually banned CRT. But I have to say, I was pretty impressed with Jason, his attorney general, in this letter that he sent out. Savrit says, talk about placebo mask wearing, placebo racism, weak psyches, highly susceptible. Highly susceptible. Well, I have to say, I was really impressed with this letter that got sent out. This is from Jason. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Jason. He is the Attorney General of Virginia. I've issued my first ever Attorney General opinion. Virginia state universities cannot mandate the COVID-19 vaccine as a condition for enrollment or in-person attendance. And we know that this has happened in Virginia because the last strike I got on my YouTube channel, I literally was reading a story about this happening in Virginia and YouTube gave me a strike for it. So YouTube, I am simply reading a letter from the Attorney General of Virginia. We are going to remind people to refer to the CDC for all your vaccine and mask related questions. I'm not giving any opinions on vaccine or mask related questions. I am merely reading a legal opinion from the Attorney General of Virginia. But as always, the CDC is our God. We worship at the altar of the CDC to keep the YouTube overlords happy. Let's see what Jason had to say. Let's see what he had to say. Attorney General Myers, is that how we're pronouncing it? Myers has issued a legal opinion that Virginia's state institutions of higher education cannot require the COVID-19 vaccine as a general condition of student enrollment or in-person attendance. Excuse me. The Attorney General highlights in the opinion that, as recognized in the prior opinion, there is no question that the General Assembly would enact a statute requiring the COVID-19 vaccine for in-person school attendance. As of this writing, it has not done so. Over the course of the COVID-19 pandemic, the General Assembly has amended other statutes to address pandemic-related issues. Additionally, the Attorney General writes that although the General Assembly specifically authorized public institutions of higher education to assist the Department of Health and local health departments in the administration of the COVID-19 vaccine, the legislation did not grant such institutions power to impose these vaccination requirements. While the Attorney General is vaccinated and boosted and encourages everyone to get the vaccination, nowhere in the Code of Virginia does the law say that Virginia public institutions can require vaccinations as a condition of enrollment or in-person attendance. Based Attorney General, man. Based Attorney General. Naruto says, remember that guy in New Jersey who got elected to Congress only spending $150? Yeah, I mean, and also that gym owner in New Jersey has now announced he is running for Congress. So that's pretty great. But I bring up this letter from Virginia's new attorney general because, oddly enough, this article appeared in The Atlantic. The case against masks at school. The Atlantic. The Atlantic is a little bit lefty, so I'm a little confused about why they're all of a sudden against masks at school. Probably because they've seen poll numbers. I really think we're starting to see changing of the tune on the Democratic side. I think that everyone is sensing that the pandemic is about to come to an end. I think the new variant has made that pretty clear that we are nearing the end of this pandemic. We are nearing the end of what people will tolerate. That trucker convoy in Canada is awesome. It's now being copycatted everywhere, including in America. I heard there's a trucker convoy going on here now. This pandemic is about to end. And I think that the media and the Democrats are starting to see the writing on the wall, and they're starting to walk back some of their more authoritarian positions, but never, ever, ever, ever forget what these people have put this country through in the last 2 years. I don't care how many articles we see about, no, maybe we shouldn't be masking students in schools. We now know that masking children is going to cause a mental and developmental crisis that we are not actually prepared to combat in any way, shape, or form. This is a problem that will not be fixed in any of our lifetimes. We're pretty effed. And we should never, ever, ever forget, never, ever forget who caused this in the first place. No, so someone in the chat is saying this article's from a couple of months ago. No, it's not. January 26, 2022. It is a brand new article. Hang on one sec. In the panic spring of 2020, as health officials scrambled to keep communities safe, they recommended various restrictions and interventions, sometimes in the absence of rigorous science supporting them. Isn't that funny? Sometimes in the absence of rigorous science supporting them. That was understandable at the time. Now, however, 2 years into this pandemic, keeping unproven measures in place is no longer justifiable. Although no district is likely to roll back COVID policies in the middle of the Omicron surge. At the top of the list of policies we should rethink once the wave recedes is mandatory masks for kids in school. Oh, really, The Atlantic? Where were you a year ago? The CDC guidance on school masking is far reaching, recommending universal indoor masking by all students age 2 and older, staff, teachers, and visitors to K through 12 schools, regardless of vaccination status. In contrast, many countries, the UK, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and others, have not taken the US's approach and instead follow the World Health Organization guidelines, which recommend against masking children ages 5 and younger, because this group is at a low risk of illness, because masks are not in the overall interests of the child, and because many children who are unable to wear a mask properly. Even for children 6 through 11, the WHO does not routinely recommend masks because of the potential impact of wearing a mask on learning and psychosocial development. Who would have thunk it? The WHO also explicitly counsels against masking children during physical activities, including running and jumping at a playground, so as not to compromise breathing. Naruto said the Atlantic is also a UK outlet. Thank you, Naruto. Savrit says the Mask Act as an as above so below thing. Okay, I got it. Don't only muzzle your information and thought, but muzzle your literal faith as well, face as well. As above, so below. I absolutely agree with you, Savrits. But in America, about half of the country's 35 million children remain compulsorily masked in school for the indefinite future. 16 U.S. states and the District of Columbia follow the CDC guidance closely and require masks for students of all ages, regardless of vaccination status. Other states rely on a patchwork of policies, usually leaving decisions up to local school districts. Many deep blue areas, such as Portland, Los Angeles, and New York, have gone beyond CDC guidance and are masking students outdoors at recess, in part because of Byzantine rules that require an unmasked, exposed student to miss multiple days of school, even if the punitive exposure is outside. Many public health experts maintain that masks worn correctly are essential to reducing the spread of COVID 19. However, there's reason to doubt that kids can pull off mask wearing correctly. We reviewed a variety of studies, some conducted by the CDC itself, some cited by the CDC as evidence of masking effectiveness in a school setting, and others touted by media to the same end, and to try to find evidence that would justify the CDC's no end in sight mask guidance for the very low risk pediatric population, particularly post vaccination. Holy shit, Atlantic. Talk about a tongue twister. Talk about a tongue twister, man. Let me try to do this again. I'm going to try to say this 5 times fast. Um, Pediatric population, particularly post-vaccination. 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 I did it. I did it. Thank you for indulging me in that moment of tongue twistery. To our knowledge, the CDC has performed 3 studies to determine whether masking children in schools reduces COVID 19 transmission. The first study is of elementary schools in Georgia, conducted before vaccines became available, which found that masking teachers was associated with a statistically significant decrease in COVID 19 transmission, but masking students was not, a finding that the CDC's masking guidance does not account for. A second and more recent study of Arizona schools in Maricopa and Pima counties concluded that schools without mask mandates were more likely to have COVID 19 outbreaks than schools with mask mandates. Yet, more than 90% of the schools were in the no mask mandate group were in Maricopa County, an area that has a statistically lower vaccination rate than Pima County. This study had some other serious shortcomings, including failure to quantify the size of outbreaks and failure to report testing protocols for students. The third CDC study found that U.S. countries without mask mandates saw larger increases in pediatric COVID 19 cases after schools opened, but again did not control for the important differences in vaccination rates. The CDC has cited several other studies conducted at previous schools. So essentially, lots of studies saying lots of stuff. Therefore, the overall takeaway from these studies that schools with mask mandates have lower COVID 19 transmission rates than schools without mask mandates is not justified by the data that have been gathered. In 2 of these studies, this conclusion is undercut by the fact that the background vaccination rates, both of staff and the surrounding community, were not controlled for or taken into consideration. Let's see. To justify mask requirements in school at this point, health officials should be able to muster solid evidence from randomized trials of masking in children. To date, only 2 randomized trials have measured the impact of masks on COVID transmission. The first was conducted in Denmark in spring of 2020 and found no significant effect of masks on reducing COVID 19 transmission. The second is a much covered study conducted in Bangladesh that reported that surgical masks, but not cloth, were mostly effective at reducing rates of symptomatic infection. However, neither of these studies included children, let alone vaccinated children. I don't want to read the whole thing, I just want to scroll down to the end. As with our existing school mask policies, no real world data indicates these masks decrease transmission in school settings. Data that greatly matter greatly, as these masks require a very tight fit to function effectively. They're talking about the N95s. Masking is the last and most stubborn layer, possibly because its drawbacks are more subtle and yet not well documented. We understand that many public health professionals and parents may want to keep that layer in place because they think the possible drawbacks to masking are even less well quantified than the possible benefits. They may point to the low vaccination rate among children to argue against any losing of mitigation measures, even if they cannot directly connect those measures to reduce transmission. But hospitalizations have risen in all age groups, even at the country's peak, and remained extremely low among children. Imposing on millions of children an intervention that provides little discernible benefit on the grounds that we have not yet gathered solid evidence of its negative effects violates the most basic tenets of medicine. First, do no harm. The foundation of medical and public health interventions should be that they work, not that we have insufficient evidence to say whether they are harmful. Continued mandatory masking of children in schools, especially now that most school age children are eligible for vaccination, fails this test. This is, again, for those of you who might be looking for the information in this article. I know we didn't go over everything. This is the case against masks in schools. It was published in the Atlantic 4 days ago on January 26, 2022. Take a look at that there. But let's not give the Atlantic too much credit, okay? Let's not give the Atlantic too much credit because they also published this article. Spotify isn't really about music anymore. This is about, okay, you guys know this week Neil Young basically gave Spotify an ultimatum and said, either you keep my music, Spotify, or you get rid of Joe Rogan. Now, Joe Rogan, God bless Joe Rogan. God bless that guy. Joe Rogan will save us all. Joe Rogan is quite literally the reason that we have any opposition to this insanity at all. Listen, I'm not going to say it wouldn't have come in other ways if Joe Rogan wasn't doing what he's doing, but man, is it really helpful that Joe Rogan has FU money and put his foot down and said, I'm going to talk to who I want to talk about, and I'm going to talk about the ideas I want to talk about, and F you guys. I don't care what you think. And of course, they're all going after him right now because Spotify doesn't appear to really be backing down on this. Now, they are taking down some of his episodes, and I don't appreciate that. But, I got to give him credit. I got to give Spotify credit. They told Neil Young to go and shove it, and now the Atlantic is crying about it. Spotify isn't really about the music. In choosing Joe Rogan over Neil Young, the company has made its new priorities clear to listeners. The questions that arise in the face of any boycott effort, whether against an unethical retailer or disgraced performer or exploitative employer, can be paralyzing. We live in a world of compromise and wickedness built of systems guided not by virtue but by profit. So why, the boycotter must be asked, draw the line here. We also live in a world in which individuals rarely ever wield more power than institutions. Can any one person's resistance matter? The questions are, in the case of musicians asking to pull their music from Spotify to protest vaccine misinformation, answerable. They're doing something significant, and they're doing something that can make a difference simply by drawing attention to what Spotify has become, a content publisher whose main incentive is to act responsibly, will come from public scrutiny. On Monday, Rolling Stone reported that 76-year-old rock titan Neil Young sent a letter telling his management team and record label that Spotify would have to choose between hosting his music and hosted the popular podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. Young's letter was inspired by another letter signed by 270 scientists, doctors, and other health professionals, blah, 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 blah. Spotify picked the podcaster over the musician. On the Beach, Old Man, and most of the rest of Young's gorgeous, wobbling catalog as a lead artist is no longer available to Spotify's 381 million users. The Joe Rogan Experience, a chat show about such subjects as health, society, and mixed martial arts and aliens, remains available. In a statement, the company said that it wants all the world's music and audio content to be available to Spotify users, asserted that it already removed over 20,000 podcast episodes related to COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic, and expressed regret about Young's choice. Rogan has been, for some years now, arguably the most influential podcaster on the planet, so Young's move might seem futile, like a man protesting the weather, or self defeating, like a novelist not wanting to be on the same bookshelves as Tom Clancy. But through no perfect analogy exists, or though no perfect analogy exists when it comes to Spotify, streaming is a new and evolving platform or phenomenon. The better way to think of Young might be this: he's like an advertiser pulling out from Fox News because of its continued reliance on Tucker Carlson. No, Neil Young is having a hissy fit. That's what's going on. I really think that part of the problem here is that Neil Young believes his own bullshit. Neil Young honestly thinks that at this moment in time, he is more influential than Joe Rogan. Dude, at this moment in time, there are very few people on this planet that are more influential than Joe Rogan. Certainly not Neil Young. When was the last time Neil Young had a hit record? And listen, man, I'm not gonna take away from the guy what he's accomplished. He is a titan in the music industry. He's a titan. What is he sold? Probably hundreds of millions of albums. Like, you can't take that away from someone. But the fact of the matter is that, I mean, I'm just gonna be blunt. Would most people under 20 even know who Neil Young is? I'm honestly asking the question. I cannot name one of Neil Young's songs. I have no idea. I don't. I've never. I mean, I've listened to his stuff here and there, but I've never. I was never like a fan of his. He was before my time, so I can't name one of his songs. Can someone who's in their 30s name one of his songs? Can someone who's in their 20s name one of his songs? Can someone who's under the age of 20 name one of his songs? I bet they can't. He's not more influential from Joe Rogan. Neil Young misunderestimated his position. That is the problem. Savritz said, stupid placebo vax. Well, I can't say that, Savritz. Check with the CDC for all vaccine-related information. As well as this is all a spell from magic from controlling perception. When people start to condemn this wickedness, I like you and I want your honest opinion. I mean, people will condemn it when it gets painful enough. That's what it is. People will only take action when it is more painful for them to not take action than it is to take action. That's what it is. So they're basically complaining about this. Let's read the rest of the article. We don't have that much left to go. The company's deal with Rogan was part of a larger strategic shift whose implications listeners may not fully understand. Since launching in 2008, Spotify has transformed the music world. Blah, 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 blah. Spotify's bet on podcasts has attracted subscribers and ad dollars, but Young's protest of Rogan highlights one downside of it. Policing speech is, to be sure, not an entirely new challenge for Spotify. The company has removed racist music and briefly attempted to punish artists who are accused of personal misconduct. In a recent statement about Young, said that it also had taken action against a number of COVID-related podcasts. But when you've paid a fortune for a podcast, pulling episodes for any reason is not going to be a routine, attractive proposition. Perhaps this is the start of a movement. Last night, Young's legendary pal Joni Mitchell announced that she, too, wanted to secede from Spotify in solidarity with Neil Young. Okay, so we have a bunch of like old artists who, again, are underestimating their current relevance, who are like, yes, damn, you know what's ironic? Am I incorrect in saying that like Neil Young and Joni Mitchell would have been like in the 60s and 70s part of the counterculture? Am I incorrect in saying that? I don't think I am. Neil Young and Joni Mitchell went from being part of the counterculture to now being part of the establishment. Yeah, George, I'm sorry. If I said underestimating, I meant overestimating. Neil Young and Joni Mitchell are overestimating their relevance. If I've been saying underestimating, which it's not out of the realm of possibility that I've been saying, I mean overestimating. What is it? This is kind of like Rage Against the Machine, like basically supporting everything the Biden administration wants. Isn't it so fascinating that people who literally built their personas and their careers decades ago on damn the man, down with the system are now like, take the vax, do it, don't disagree with the establishment. They've become pod people. They're sellouts. Every single one of them sold out. Neil Young sold out. Joni Mitchell sold out. They forgot their roots. They forgot what their values are. But Spotify is still moving forward with some nonsense. Look at this. You know, I loved Lauren Bobart's tweet about this. Basically, she posted this article. Meghan and Harry joined Joe Rogan protest demands Spotify make changes on COVID misinformation. And Lauren Bobart was like, "We gave our final response to the royal family's opinions in 1776." People in the United Kingdom really shouldn't have any sort of opinion about what's going on over here, especially not in New Hampshire. Whether they're royal or they're in a shed in Surrey. But Spotify's doing this anyway. This came out today. Spotify's platform rules and approach to COVID-19. A decade ago, we created Spotify to enable the work of creators around the world to be heard and enjoyed by listeners around the world. To our very core, we believe that listening is everything. Pick almost any issue. Like, you know what I hate is when organizations are making policy announcements and they try to cover it in like a fluffy story of some sort. And I know exactly what they're doing because I used to write this shit. I was literally in a position of writing the fake frou-frou effing stories that organizations sent out every time they made policy positions like this. So it's like, you know exactly what they're doing. They're basically trying to butter you up and being like, we are your friend. We have your best interests at heart. Don't you have an emotional connection to Spotify? No single person should have an emotional connection to Spotify, dude. Spotify is a service. Spotify is a service that I pay like $100 a year to, and I get like everything on demand and I don't have to deal with ads. It's a service. It's a service like any other service. They're not your friend. They're not your fucking friends. We always need to keep this in mind. We are paying them. You've had a lot of questions over the last few days about our platform policies and the lines we have drawn between what is acceptable and what is not. We've had rules in place for many years, but admittedly, we haven't been transparent around the policies that guide our content more broadly. This in turn led to questions about the application to serious issues, including COVID-19. Based on feedback over the past several weeks, it became clear to me that we have an obligation to do more to provide balance and access to widely accepted information from the medical and scientific communities guiding us through these unprecedented times. These issues are incredibly complex. We've heard you, especially those from the medical and scientific communities, and today's we're taking the following steps. Let's see. Let's see what authoritarian measures Spotify is going to introduce now. Today, we are publishing our long-standing platform rules. These policies were developed by our internal team in concert with a number of outside experts and are updated regularly to reflect the changing landscape. These are rules of the road to guide all creators. You can now find them in our newsroom. Let me just open that up. We'll take a look at that in a sec. We are working to add a content advisory to any podcast episode that includes a discussion of COVID-19. The advisory will direct listeners to our dedicated COVID-19 hub. Why is Spotify responsible for articulating medical information? What makes Spotify qualified to articulate medical information? If Spotify was interested in combating medical misinformation, then why don't they just link to the CDC? Now, I'm not saying, we all know that the CDC is our god and we bow at the feet of the CDC and all that stuff. I'm not saying that that would be the place that I personally would like people to be sent to. But if I have to choose between Spotify having the final say on medical information and the CDC having final say on medical information, I'd probably choose the CDC because Spotify is going to have some fucking 22-year-old intern who doesn't know shit about shit but thinks he's the smartest person in the world updating that COVID-19 hub. Like, God knows what's going to go in that thing. We also begin testing ways to highlight our platform rules in our creator publisher tools to raise awareness about what's acceptable and help creators understand their accountability. Let's see. Spotify platform. Oh, God. I'm not going to read all of this. Don't worry. Let's just read dangerous content. Content that glorifies violence, fine. Content that hurt. So where is COVID? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here it is. Content that promotes dangerous, false, or dangerous, deceptive medical information that may cause offline harm or poses a threat to public health includes, but may not be limited to, asserting that AIDS, COVID-19, cancer, or other serious life threatening diseases are a hoax or not real. Encouraging consumption of bleach. Oh my God, this is like a Trump policy right there. Promoting or suggesting that vaccines approved by local health authorities are designed to cause death. Encouraging people to purposefully get infected in order to build immunity. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens to Joe Rogan's podcast. I'm rooting for Joe Rogan, man. I'm not like a Joe Rogan. You guys know, like, I don't listen to stuff. I don't have the time for it. But I do appreciate Joe Rogan's contribution to the world. I think it's deeply important and vital, and a lot of people like his work. A lot of people get value from his work. I hope Spotify doesn't try to fuck him. But we'll see what's going to happen there. All right, guys, you are watching Effed Up News of the Week for January 30th, 2022. If you have not mounted that like button yet, now is as good a time as any to do so. I also want to say hi to my viewers over on Odyssey and also over on Rockfin. Anytime I am streaming on YouTube, I am almost anytime. Most of the vast majority of times I'm streaming on YouTube, I'm also mirroring on Odyssey and Rockfin. So please make sure you're subscribing on all tech platforms. And of course, please make sure you join my locals community, kb.locals.com. You can also become a supporter at kb.locals.com/support. Just as a reminder, I am streaming live at 5 Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday now. Thursday, I'm getting a tattoo, so we're going to have to postpone live at 5. But usually on a normal day, I will be streaming every day at 5 p.m. Eastern time. You can tune in. Sometimes I'll be talking about the news. Sometimes I'll be talking about life. Sometimes I'll be talking about tarot cards and betrayal, like we see in this card right here. I talk about all sorts of things. We do awesome stuff together. All right, moving on. Now, I do need to issue a correction. I do. Because last week I covered the story of a teacher who said she was fired for meowing at a student, or not meowing at a student and instead barking at the student who identified as a cat. And that was a funny story and a lot of people got a kick out of it, and including myself. But I do want to thank Retro Chris and my locals who posted this update. Fact check. Was teacher fired for not meowing back at student who identifies as a cat? A short TikTok clip in which a woman claiming to be a substitute teacher vents about school supposedly firing her for failing to respect a student's decision to identify as a cat has gone viral on social media. The TikTok user, whose account name is Crazy Named Bridget Michael, explains in this video posted on January 11th that she's a substitute teacher. We're not gonna watch the video. Let's see. We're going to go down here. Libs of TikTok shared it. The video's creator does appear to be a high school teacher, according to her past videos, but the story is entirely made up. Ironically, as an exercise to create awareness of what kids are going through in school, according to other videos posted several days later by the same account. After deciding to fact check whether the video was indeed spread online, she found it on several news outlets. In another video, the author scrolls through TikTok and YouTube and reels featuring her literal rant. I'm grateful for the people who reached out and asked me about it, but I'm disappointed. How fake news is made, I was not fired. Well, she kind of did it herself. Like, I'm sorry, she kind of put it out there herself, but we do want to correct it that didn't really happen. But can you really blame people for thinking it did? This is one of the problems with libs of TikTok, man. Benjamin Boyce is right about this. Benjamin Boyce, several months ago, did a great soliloquy on why libs of TikTok might have unforeseen consequences. And although I actually do generally like and appreciate libs of TikTok, I think that they don't always think through the consequences of what they're doing. But who could blame people? Who could blame people for doing stuff like that when stuff like this is going on? Now, this is in the UK, but still, stuff like this has gone on here. Fury as children as young as 7 are to be told they are not racially innocent because they view white at the top of the hierarchy as part of Green Control Brighton Council's diversity training for teachers. Even in the UK, critical race theory is in fact taught in K through 12 schools. Children as young as 7 are being told they're not racially innocent under plans at a local authority. It was revealed today. Brighton and Hove Council sparked uproar after unveiling its anti-racist education plans, with some parents pulling their children from classrooms. But it has now been accused of indoctrinating youngsters after pushing ahead with teacher training to impose specific racial literacy-focused lessons. Leak slides shown to staff and reported in Sunday Telegraph tell students that children learn to attach value to skin color when they're 5 years old, with white at the top of the hierarchy and black at the bottom. Another says there is ample evidence that youngsters are not racially innocent despite there being widespread view in society. Staff were also told that Christianity had influenced the slave trade, portrayed its heroes as white, and that science upholds the status quo. But I thought we were supposed to trust science. I thought we all believed in science. What happened to trusting the science? We're now told that science upholds the status quo. Well, it is in the UK. Maybe the UK has not yet gotten the memo. Yeah, Lisa says, I don't like the obsession with libs of TikTok. It's becoming a little bit weird, doesn't it? It's becoming a little bit weird. I've kind of been feeling the same way about it, to be honest. I do not like the overt obsession with it. I think it takes things out of context. And I think I talked about this on the stream the other day. I think it puts the target on the wrong people. I think it actually puts the target on the victims of this ideology. I don't think it puts the targets on the perpetrators. I think it puts it on the victims. And so it's sitting a little uneasy for me. A little uneasy. And society is obsessed over the muscle size of black sports people rather than their white rivals. Former Education Minister Sir John Hayes has blasted the training as sinister and called on the government to look into plans. He warned the Green Control Authority plans look like indoctrination similar to what has been seen under brutal communist regimes. Education Secretary had previously warned schools not to teach children that white privilege is a fact. Well, there we go. But apparently that's not happening. Emphasize says, so being furry doesn't negate their white guilt? I guess not. I guess not. So that's going on in the UK. And here we've got a couple things going on. University of Washington spends $5 million on diversity initiative for faculty members. Now, here is where I'm going to remind you guys that in real life, I am an organizational psychologist. And what that means is that I have to, on occasion, work with human resources. And in the course of my organizational psychology practice, I've developed a knowledge enough to be dangerous of laws around employment. And here's one of the laws that I know around employing people. You are not allowed to make hiring decisions based on criteria that does not directly speak to the core responsibilities of the role. So, in my course, like one of the things I do as an organizational psychologist is I administer psychological assessments to people. I did one on the channel just the other day on Thursday, I believe, Wednesday or Thursday. I did my own psychological assessment. I used the DISC model. I did the DISC test live. You guys could see my answers. We talked about what my DISC profile was rather briefly because I had another thing I had to get to. So, but I do that for organizations. Now, when I do that for organizations, on occasion, some of them want to use those assessments in the course of their hiring. So, what they want to do is give people like a DISC profile or another type of assessment before they're hired in order to get an idea of how they might fit into the team. And while it is absolutely legal to do so, I always, 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 always have to tell people you cannot make the hiring decision based on the results of that assessment. So it's better to honestly not do it until after the hire, because then you leave it in no uncertain terms that you did not make the hiring decision based on the results of that assessment. Because otherwise there's always going to be a question. And the reason you can't make the hiring decisions based on the results of the assessment is because the assessment does not test things that are core competencies of the job. Okay? So, when we're talking about the University of Washington spending $5 million on diversity initiatives, let's listen to how that's going to impact their hiring process for faculty members. And then we can ask ourselves, is what the University of Washington doing legal? The University of Washington, the University of Washington has announced that they will funnel $5 million to further push for diversity, equity, and inclusion over the next 2 years, which also includes hiring a more diverse faculty. The press release states that the university will designate $3 million in bridge funding for 2021 and another $2 million in 2022 to support the recruitment of faculty who will push the university's mission for equity and inclusion. The core competencies of a faculty member, by the way, guys, are usually teaching students, conducting research, and publishing research. Those are the core competencies of faculty: teaching students, conducting research, publishing research. None of that has to do with diversity and equity and inclusion bullshit. The university will also direct existing funding to the recruitment and retention of faculty to focus specifically upon faculty who will advance the university's goal of diversity. The university will now require all faculty searches include statements from individual candidates describing their past and planned contributions to diversity, equity, and inclusion. In addition, the university will ask department deans to examine whether hiring, appointment, and promotion criteria for faculty can be enhanced to support diversity, equity, and inclusion in their units. So, what they're saying is that the University of Washington is literally trying to cajole people it's trying to cajole their deans into changing the job descriptions of faculty members so that they can force faculty to contribute to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, and they can use it in the hiring process. No, Naruto, it was the stream before that then. It wasn't Thursday's stream, it was probably Wednesday's stream. Maybe it was even Tuesday's stream. I don't even know. It was the one where I took the disc test. That was what I was talking about. Savrit says, these people are evil. We must old Yeller the convert / kill force hiding under the guise of philanthropy. We must put down that which is rabid. You know, I agree. I don't condone violence, so I'm not gonna say I condone violence in any way. But if we're talking about a figurative put down, sure. We know that UW must better reflect the communities we serve, which requires short and long-term changes to our university, a place where faculty from diverse backgrounds feel where they belong. When asked if the funding for this initiative is public, Senior Director of Media Relations for the University of Washington said the funding for this initiative comes from a variety of sources that are made public and is being used consistent with the laws of the state of Washington and federal government. Well, not if you're hiring people based on competencies that are not the core functions of their jobs, which obviously they're not, because you're telling the deans to make them the core competencies of the jobs, which means they are not yet the core competencies of the jobs. And another thing, like, why are people paying tens of thousands of dollars a year to go to places like the University of Washington, where they're going to be learning from faculty members whose core function of their job is not to teach? Why are people spending tuition dollars there? I think that's a real good question. But that's not even the wokest thing that happened this week. Check this out. Pregnant, man, and biting lips are among the 37 new emojis coming to your iPhone. Now, I have no problem with the biting lips emoji. I actually think that's kind of rad. I can think of many, many, many instances in which I would use the biting lips emoji. No problem with it at all. Why do we have a pregnant man emoji? Why? That seems a little misguided. Now, some might argue he has a beer belly. Listen, my husband has a beer belly. God love him, but he does. Doesn't look like that. It does not look like that. Some could argue maybe he's having a food baby. Maybe he just ate too much Taco Bell. Doesn't look like that either. Why is there a pregnant man emoji? Why? Are you? I don't know who you are. Dirt Floor Garage, who are you? Let me know who you are. Because you're new here and I want to know who you are because you're name dropping people. Apple users can look forward to sending their friends some fresh emojis, including a pregnant man and biting lips. The new creations will roll out to iPhone users. They were originally designed for September 2021. The release includes 37 new emojis, including a melting face, saluting hand, and a biting lip. But two of the most talked about designs are the pregnant man and the pregnant person. I'm sorry. Listen, if we're going to be fucking around with this pregnant person garbage, if we're not allowed to say pregnant woman anymore, we have to call it pregnant person, then why are we calling the man pregnant? Why isn't the man also a pregnant person? If you're really Jackie fucking Perry, well done. Good to see you, Jackie. Welcome to the channel. Enjoy your new obsession with me. That's hilarious, actually. That is hilarious. Someone from the LP&H has to let me know if Jackie Perry has a secret fucking YouTube account. Jess, I need to know if that's actually Jackie Perry. I'm not messing around. Savrits. They want to normalize the concept of oneness as an organism. When man knew no woman and no woman knew man, the one world conspirators believe this. Yeah, they want to eliminate gender man, but the problem is they want to eliminate women. Listen, if you're talking about pregnant man versus pregnant person, where did the word woman go? I'm just saying. The Emojipedia explains they can be used for representation by trans men, non-binary people, for women with short hair. Oh. Touche, good sir. Touche, good sir. See, I don't know. When people show up and I don't know who they are, I don't know if they're friend, I don't know if they're foe. Touche, good sir. But it would have been actually hilarious if that was Jackie. Confirmed, not Jackie Perry. Look at these fucking emojis. Look at this. So this is pregnant person and this is pregnant man. The hell. When the intent is to feature more inclusive designs for a diverse set of smartphone users, the pregnant man emoji has sparked debate online. How can you do an emoji of something that didn't exist? Asked one Twitter user, to which another user replied with an emoji depicting a unicorn. A unicorn is not the same as a pregnant man. Many posts criticizing the pregnant man emoji struck a political tone, with some users attacking the left for the new design. Yeah, Patrice says, this is a really good point, Patrice. Infertile women should be up in arms about this. How insulting. If you don't like the pregnant man emoji, maybe don't use it, said political correspondent Tom Harwood. Bit snowflakey to get worked up about a little picture that will sit on in the company of a floating alien and anthropomorphic poo. I mean, fair enough. Listen, I'm going to be honest. I don't necessarily think that this is one of those things that we should spend a lot of time on. It's a flipping emoji. If you don't like the emoji, don't use the emoji. What I am more pissed about is the general language right here where we're talking about you can either be a pregnant person or a pregnant man. If the goal of removing pregnant woman, that is the word that is being removed. If the goal of removing the word woman is to make it so it's applicable to everyone, then we don't need a fucking pregnant man category. You can have it one way or the other. Either you can have pregnant person or you can have pregnant man and pregnant woman. Choose one. Choose one, man. You can't have both. Emphasize says that would mean the patriarchy still wins. Exactly. Exactly. Well, guys, we're going to round out Effed Up News of the Week. Now, you know I always like to end on happy news, and we are going to do that. I'm just going to remind everyone that there's still time to register for this here webinar that I'm giving on Tuesday at noon, an introduction to critical race theory. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a bare bones, super, super lightweight introduction. If you know very little about critical race theory, this is the webinar for you. You can register for it on activelyunwoke.com. You can also, while you're there, pre-order a copy of my upcoming book, also titled Actively Unwoke, aptly. It's filled with case studies and lots of good information you need to know about how to fight back against the woke in your life. It's coming out in April. I'm really excited about it. The Kindle edition, I believe, will be going on pre-sale this week. The hardcover's up now, but you can pick up that if you're ready to. We will also be having autographed copies becoming available, which I'm pretty excited about. But the last story I want to do for this week, listen, I love it when lawmakers listen to me and they do the thing I ask them to do. Every once in a while, it happens that I'm actually listened to. And in this case, we've got 2 wins in this article. 2 wins. NHPR isn't going to think that they're wins. I think that they're wins. At the State House, New Hampshire teachers push back against efforts to regulate instruction. Now, I don't care that the teachers are upset. The teachers are always upset about something. I want to read this article because it talks about why they're upset. Let's take a look. One bill, they just started on, okay, I guess they did. One bill would test public schools teachers' loyalty to the United States. Another would give parents the power to opt their children out of lessons they find objectionable. Yes, this is what I'm talking about, man. This is the type of activity that I would absolutely support as the governor of New Hampshire. I wouldn't veto any bills like Chris Sununu would. If you want someone that's going to veto bills that will protect your children in New Hampshire, you need to vote for Chris Sununu. If you want someone that will unabashedly support bills that will protect your children in public schools in New Hampshire, you're going to want to vote for me for governor. A pair of bills aimed at public school classrooms have driven a fresh round of debate in the State House over the balance between teacher discretion and parental oversight. The Republican backed bills, which were taken up by the House Education Committee Thursday, seek to advance mechanisms for parents to exert more control over the school curriculum, part of an effort the party has made to curtail the perceived intrusion of critical race theory into schools. My intent is to make sure that teachers are educating and not indoctrinating, said Representative Alicia Lekas, a Hudson Republican who supported the teacher loyalty bill, House Bill 1255. Let me just make sure. I think it's a relatively short bill. Oh, doesn't have the results there. But anyway, this is a good bill, guys. This is House Bill 2055 is the thing that will fix the anti-CRT bill that Chris Sununu broke in the first place. Conservatives already made major strides towards their goal in 2021 when the legislature passed a law banning certain concepts around race and gender from being taught in public schools and allowed parents to sue teachers they believed were in violation. This new legislation this year adds further requirements for teachers. I'm just going to skip this paragraph here. We're going to come back to it because it's talking about a different bill. House Bill 1255 would create an area of statute centered on teacher loyalty that seeks to target any teaching that the United States was founded on slavery. It's like I talk about something and I scream about something and I send angry emails to lawmakers enough. Eventually, they do the thing I want them to do. No teacher shall advocate any doctrine or theory promoting a negative account or representation of the founding and history of the United States of America in New Hampshire schools, which does not include the worldview-wide context of now outdated and discouraged practices, the bill states. Such prohibition includes, but is not limited to, the teaching that the United States was founded on racism. They basically should call this the Karlin Borisenko bill, I think, because this bill only exists because I was complaining constantly and incessantly about how they screwed this up in the first place. Not the state legislators. I'm not putting the blame on the state legislators here. Well, some of them I won't blame. This was the people in the Senate, and this was Chris Sununu. So you guys know how if you forget the amount of complaining I did about this, you can refer to the stream I did just last week, I believe, about why the executive order in Virginia doesn't ban critical race theory, because they did the same thing that New Hampshire did, which is they left out that teachers, okay, basically it was still completely legal for teachers to teach that America was a fundamentally racist country. That's true in New Hampshire. That's true in Virginia. And that's how I knew that executive order did not actually ban critical race theory. Guess what? New Hampshire has listened to me. They've done the right thing. I'm really happy about it. And they have now introduced a bill that would make it illegal to teach that America was founded on racism, which is exactly the thing that I told them that they needed to fix. I feel pretty good about this. I'm just going to take a little victory lap. Pre-governor victory lap. Savrit says, you could get it done, pretty lady. Keep swimming. Thank you. Thank you. Teachers that are in violation could find themselves facing disciplinary sanctions from the State Board of Education, including a loss of their license, the bill states. Excellent. Now, we have another bill, House Bill 1015, would expand the existing statute that requires teacher to provide 2 weeks of advance notice of curriculum for health and sex education. The bill would require teachers to put a notice of materials for all courses and allow parents to lodge objections to materials they found objectionable and require the school to provide alternative instruction. So basically what this bill does, Bill 1055, this is the educational transparency bill. So the first bill is around fixing the anti-CRT bill to actually make it illegal to teach this crap in New Hampshire. Sorry, guys, my voice is starting to go. Bill 1015 would require teachers to put all materials online or make them available to parents 2 weeks prior to instruction. And then what happens is that parents can object to any materials, and the schools have to find an accommodation for it. So, congratulations to the Republicans in New Hampshire who put these two bills forward. Thank you for listening to me when I told you that the original anti CRT bill did not actually ban critical race theory because of the one provision that Jeb Bradley and John Formella and Chris Sununu effed up. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for going back for a fix. I'm pretty excited about it. This is our good news for the week. All right, guys, since my voice is about to fail me entirely, that's all we have for effed up news this week. Now, I did have a couple stories that I didn't cover this week that I will be doing probably on my streams moving forward. Let's just give you guys a sneak peek. Look at this. This is a story that was posted by Jenny's Getting Inky in my locals community. BLM's millions unaccounted for after leaders quietly jump ship. Huh, we might be talking about that one tomorrow. We also have this one from the Daily Wire. Democratic senator said Breyer's replacement should not make decisions based on the law. That's interesting. So apparently we don't want Supreme Court justices making decisions based on the law. Okay. We also have this one. This was originally on the slate for effed up news. It got bumped for other things, but I might be talking about it tomorrow. A grill company apologizes after sending a meatloaf recipe on the same day as the rock star's death. You know, I had some of Meatloaf's music stuck in my head like all last week. And so I definitely found some humor in this one. We'll be talking about these and many other stories throughout the week. Guys, as a reminder, please mount that like button on your way out the door. And I hope that you'll consider becoming a member of my locals community. We have a community Zoom call tomorrow at 7 p.m. You can come and meet other members of the community. You can come and introduce yourselves. It'll be awesome. You're going to find it's the best place, the most welcoming place, the most inviting place, the most non-judgmental, awesome place on the internet. You can get access to it by becoming a supporter at $5 a month. You can also do it for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can also make a one-time gift. I greatly appreciate the support. It's what allows me to do what I'm doing. It's what allows me to gallivant around, running for governor of New Hampshire, fighting the good fight, continuing to push back on lawmakers who break things, but then they eventually come around and we're happy about that. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. I will see some of you tomorrow for the stream at 5. I will see some of you tomorrow for my locals call at 7. Take care. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you soon.